In the world of horror, some killers haunt your dreams, others stalk your campgrounds, but Michael Myers? He turns your whole damn town into his personal slaughterhouse. No gimmicks, no games, just pure, unstoppable terror wrapped in a blank white mask. That's right, Michael's back, baby. And this time, he's on the bloodiest rampage of his entire career. It doesn't matter who you are. If he catches you on the block, he's handing out closed casket funerals like it's Halloween candy. Welcome to Halloween Kills. It's Halloween night in Haddonfield, and things are about to get messier than a pumpkin carving gone wrong. Cameron here stumbles across Deputy Hawkins, bleeding out with a stab wound to the neck. The guy grabs him, muttering something like, "Michael Myers has to die," and even vows that he's going to be the one to do it. "Oh, sure thing, Hawkins. Let me just order some popcorn so I can watch that miracle happen." Flashback to 40 years ago when Hawkins actually had a shot at taking Michael down. Spoiler, he blew it harder than a kid trying to bob for apples in an empty bucket. That Halloween, Michael was already mid-slaughter when Hawkins and his partner were hunting him through the neighborhood. Meanwhile, Cameron's dad, Lonnie, was out trick-or-treating and learned the hard way that clumsy kids make easy targets. He tripped, looked up, and saw Michael Myers doing his signature, "I'm about to ruin your whole life," strut straight toward him. But plot twist, Michael let the kid go. Fast forward to Hawkins and his partner catching up with Michael. They tracked him to his old house, and in the kind of genius move that horror movies thrive on, they decided to split up and check inside. Bad idea, boys. After poking around the first floor and finding nothing, they regrouped in the hallway and headed upstairs. Classic horror mistake number 2. Poking around a creepy house uninvited. In Judith's old bedroom, Hawkins' partner paused to admire the view from the window. Because yeah, sightseeing is the priority when a homicidal maniac's on the loose. That's when he noticed some suspicious boot prints on the floor. Before he could yell, Michael burst in like a goddamn freight train, grabbed the guy and started choking him out with a piece of rope. Hawkins, clearly the star of the Haddonfield shooting team, rushed in to save his partner. Except instead of taking down Michael, he accidentally shot his buddy in the neck. Way to go, deputy. Michael, being the absolute troll he is, just tossed the guy aside and walked out like nothing happened. Hawkins, probably still in shock over his one-man massacre, fired off a few more shots, none of which hit. At this point, even stormtroopers were cringing. By the time Hawkins ran back to check on his partner, it was game over. So yeah, Hawkins, you're totally gonna take down Michael Myers this time. Sure thing, buddy. We all believe in you. Not. It's 2018, and a group of Michael Myers survivors are hanging out at a local bar because apparently there's nothing like trauma bonding over beer and bad karaoke. They're having a talent show, and Lonnie decides it's a great idea to drag Tommy Doyle on stage. The kid Laurie was babysitting when Michael decided to turn the suburbs into his personal slaughterhouse. Tommy grabs the mic like he's about to drop the sickest mixtape of 1978 and starts recounting how Michael terrorized Haddonfield back in the day. He ends with a classic horror PSA. He could come back anytime, so grab your pitchforks and aim for the head. Meanwhile, Laurie's bleeding out in the back of a truck, speeding to the hospital after her last run-in with Michael. But she's not the only one on the move. A team of firefighters speeds past her, heading straight for her flaming house. Laurie starts screaming at them to let it burn, because she knows what's about to happen if they don't. Spoiler, they don't listen, and it all goes to hell faster than a turkey on Thanksgiving. The firefighters rush in, trying to put out the fire. One guy gets a little too close to the action, and the floor gives way beneath him. As if that's not bad enough, he ends up face to face with Michael Myers, who's been patiently waiting in the basement like it's his goddamn bat cave. The dude tries to activate his emergency beacon, but Michael doesn't care about your gadgets, pal. He kicks him down and smashes his head in with a pry bar, because subtlety isn't really Michael's thing. Another firefighter hears the commotion and reaches down to help. Big mistake. Michael grabs his arm like he's pulling in a prize fish and drags him into the flames. Outside, the rest of the crew hears the screams and turns just in time to see Michael stroll out of the burning house, pry bar in hand, looking like he's ready to headline WrestleMania. Now these firefighters decide to fight him off with their tools. But let's be real, they have no idea who they're dealing with. One guy tries to stop him with a fire hose because apparently he thinks Michael's a stray cat. Michael just walks through the stream and jams a spike through his face like he's carving a Halloween pumpkin. 3 more rush in, ready to take him down, but Michael dispatches them faster than you can say, "Don't split up." The last poor bastard grabs a power saw, thinking he's about to save the day, but Michael's got other plans. He flips the saw around and shoves it into the guy's neck like, "Thanks for bringing me a toy." And just like that, Michael walks away from the carnage, Lori's barely holding on as paramedics rush her through the hospital doors like it's a season finale of Grey's Anatomy. She's whisked straight into surgery, and thankfully, the docs say she'll pull through. But her daughter, Karen, she's still reeling from losing her husband in Michael's last murder fest. And honestly, who wouldn't be? Therapy bills for this family must be astronomical. Meanwhile, down the street, Lori's neighbors, Phil and Sandra, are just trying to live their best suburban lives. Sandra's flying a toy drone around the living room like she's 10 years old again. But then, bam, it crashes into another room. No big deal, right? Except some asshole throws it back, all busted up. Now, either the house is haunted or Michael Myers just signed up for intramural dodgeball. Phil, proving he's got more guts than brains, heads over to investigate. He flips on the light, and before he can even say, "What the f***?" Michael smashes the bulb with his bare hand. Phil slams the door and locks it. But guess what? Locks are more of a suggestion to Michael. He punches through the window, grabs Phil by the throat, and smashes his head against the wall before turning his neck into a Pez dispenser with a shard of glass. Sandra, understandably, freaks the hell out. She runs for the back door, but apparently forgets how doors work. Instead of, escaping, she grabs a kitchen knife like she's about to challenge Michael to Top Chef, Death Edition. Michael's like, "Cute knife," and casually snaps a fluorescent light, jams it into her neck, and lets her bleed out on the spot. But wait, Michael's not done. He drags Phil's body over to the table and decides to turn him into an arts and crafts project, stabbing him with every knife in the kitchen. By the time he's done, poor Phil looks like a homicidal porcupine. Michael steps back, admires his work, and strolls out like he just clocked out of his 9 to 5. Shockingly, Sandra survives this nightmare. Barely. But Phil? Yeah, Phil's fucked. Back at the bar, Lonnie's enjoying the talent show, probably regretting not staying home, when he gets a panicked call from his son about the school attack. Meanwhile, all around town, cops are finally piecing together Michael's rampage. Sheriff Barker puts the town on high alert, but let's be honest, this guy's not exactly winning Sheriff of the Year. Then, the cherry on this shit Sunday. A news report airs blaming the killings on 2 escaped mental patients from the prison bus crash. Yep, because nothing screams Michael Myers like some random dudes who probably just wanted a sandwich. Haddonfield's in for one hell of a night. Realizing that Haddonfield's gone full apocalypse now, Vanessa and Marcus decide to bounce before things get any bloodier. As they're heading to their car, Marcus suddenly remembers he left something inside, because of course he did. He tosses Vanessa the keys and tells her to start the car. Simple plan, right? Wrong. Vanessa takes a seat and is just about to turn the key when, surprise, someone sits up in the back seat. Freak the hell out, she bolts from the car and runs back to the bar, yelling at Marcus that Michael Myers is chilling in their ride. Marcus barely has time to blink before Tommy comes barreling out, baseball bat in hand, like he's about to audition for the Haddonfield Red Sox. But then things get weirder. The car headlights turn on, and opera music starts blasting from the radio. Yes, opera, because apparently Michael's got a flair for the dramatic. Tommy tries to smash the window with his bat, but the driver pieces out, flooring it through the neighborhood like it's GTA. The joyride ends with the car crashing into a power station. When Tommy's crew finally catches up, the driver's long gone. Turns out it wasn't Michael, but one of the other escaped patients. Classic misdirection, but Tommy's not about to let this guy, or Michael, off the hook. Across town, over at Michael's old stomping grounds, we meet Big John and Little John, a couple getting into the Halloween spirit by cranking some spooky vinyl. When the doorbell rings, Little John answers, expecting more trick-or-treaters. Instead, he finds a girl claiming there's been an emergency. Her sister bit into a piece of candy from their house and found a razor blade inside. She points to her dying sister sprawled out on the lawn, covered in blood and chocolate. Big John springs into action, running to help the kid. But surprise, it's all a prank. The kids slam the door behind them and raid the house for candy. Big and Little John, however, aren't about to let these punks get the last laugh. Big John leans into his inner theater kid and tells the kids the creepiest story he can muster about the house's history. Michael Myers, bloody murders, the works. The kids, now scared shitless, bolt down the street, totally unaware that they might actually meet the legend himself before the night's over. Back at the hospital, Lori's recovering from surgery, pissed off but alive. A deputy pulls Allison aside to grill her about how Michael found them. She explains that it wasn't some supernatural tracking. It was Dr. Sartain, the Michael Myers fan club president, who orchestrated the whole thing. On the plus side, everyone thinks Michael's finally dead. But nope, Sheriff Barker drops the bad news bomb. Michael's still out there, adding to his body count. Cameron shows up, hyped and ready to hunt Michael down. He invites Allison to join the squad. It's a chance to get some sweet, bloody revenge for her dad and all the other victims. But Karen's not having it. She insists it's way too dangerous and forbids Allison from leaving the hospital. Naturally, Allison listens for about 5 seconds before doing the exact opposite. She sneaks her grandma a massive kitchen knife, just in case, slips out of the room, and disappears into the night. Meanwhile, the crew's getting ready for their showdown in the parking lot. Lonnie pops his trunk and reveals his arsenal of hand cannons, passing them out like party favors. Allison, proving she's got taste, grabs a sawed-off shotgun. It's a bold choice, but let's face it, no amount of firepower can prepare them for the chaos that's coming next. The squad splits up, hitting the streets to either recruit some wannabe monster hunters or warn folks to lock their doors and pray to whatever deity they believe in. Tommy, self-appointed captain of Team Kill Michael, divvies up the neighborhood like it's a war zone and tells everyone to call if they see anything sketchy. Eventually, Lindsay's group rolls up to a park where a few kids are playing on the swings like it's not the middle of a goddamn slasher movie. Lindsay grabs a flashlight and heads over to warn them. And surprise, it's the same smart-ass kids from the Johns house. They're still treating the whole night like a joke, even casually mentioning that some weird guy in a white mask has been staring at them from the trees for the past 15 minutes. Because yeah, that's totally normal, right? Lindsay glances over and boom, there's Michael, already standing by their car like he's been invited to this meeting. In his hand, a bloody mask that used to belong to one of their buddies. The kids scream and bolt, finally realizing this isn't a Halloween prank. Lindsay tries to warn her crew, but Michael's already in the thick of it. In the car, Marion spots him in the rearview mirror. Before anyone can blink, Michael's up on the roof like some psychotic Spider-Man. Something crashes against the windshield and Marion panics, firing off her revolver. But nope, it's not Michael. It's the decapitated head of one of the trick-or-treaters, courtesy of our masked maniac. Meanwhile, Lindsay's gone full DIY warrior, grabbing a pillowcase and loading it with bricks. Because when in doubt, brick it out, right? Marion tries to shoot Michael through the window, but he grabs her by the hair and starts dragging her out of the car like he's yanking weeds. Vanessa sees her moment and escapes through the back window, running like her life depends on it, because it totally does. The others, not so lucky. Michael blocks their escape, and Marion realizes her revolver is empty. Cue her total oh shit moment as Michael leans in and starts stabbing her like he's carving a turkey. Marcus decides to play hero with a stethoscope, of all things, trying to choke Michael out. Bad call, Doc. Michael responds by shoving a knife straight through his eye socket. Vanessa, to her credit, tries to return with some backup firepower, a Desert Eagle, but her aim's about as reliable as her life expectancy. Michael just kicks the car door, and she manages to shoot herself instead. Oops. Finally, Lindsay swoops in with her brick pillowcase, swinging like she's in a bar fight. But shocker, it does jack shit. Michael pins her against the truck and toys with her for a second before she distracts him by messing with his mask. It works, and she slips away, running to the riverbank to hide. Michael's not done, though. He stomps after her, murder vibes at full throttle. Lindsay dives for cover by the river, staying as quiet as humanly possible. There's a tense moment where he almost finds her, but for some reason he changes course, crossing the bridge and vanishing into the darkness. For now, Lindsay's safe, but let's be real, that safety has an expiration date. Back at the hospital, Karen swings by to check on Lori, only to realize Allison has Houdini'd her way out of there. Before she can process her daughter's rebellious streak, they wheel in Deputy Hawkins. Yes, the same guy from the earlier chaos. Turns out he's still breathing, but just barely. Meanwhile, Allison and her ragtag crew pull up to a park where Tommy's already snooping around an abandoned truck. There's blood everywhere, like crime scene meets Quentin Tarantino film levels of blood, but no bodies in sight. That is, until they find the playground, where their friends are now a decorative display. The merry-go-round is spinning with corpses like a macabre carnival ride, and the old lady is swinging from the set like she's auditioning for a ghost story. As they're trying not to lose their lunches, they spot Lindsay down by the water. She's alive but barely hanging on, babbling warnings about Michael still being on the loose. No shit, Lindsay. We kind of figured from the bloodbath. Back at the hospital, Sheriff Brackett is losing his cool. He's demanding action, wanting to avenge his daughter's death from back in '78. Meanwhile, Sheriff Barker is in full-on panic mode because the town's backup is apparently stuck in traffic or something. That's when Tommy storms in, carrying Lindsay like a war hero, and overhears Karen insisting Michael is probably coming to the hospital next. So what does Tommy do? He rallies the entire hospital like he's Braveheart, giving a no-mercy speech and whipping the crowd into a frenzy. By the time he's done, the whole building's one step away from grabbing pitchforks and torches. The sheriff tries to calm them down, but no one's listening anymore. It's a full-on riot, with fists flying and everyone yelling, "Evil dies tonight," like it's the town's new anthem. While this circus is happening, the Johns are still at home, blissfully unaware of the storm coming their way. They're watching old movies and living their best spooky season lives until there's a knock at the back door. Little John gets up to check, assuming it's those prankster kids again. But when the knocking shifts to the front door, Big John grabs a golf club because clearly nothing says "I'm ready to fight" like a 9-iron. As they investigate, Little John notices the back door is wide open and there's a bloody handprint on the wall. Cue panic mode. Big John, ever the drama queen, declares it's time to go old school and grabs a knife. They lock up the house, ready to take on whoever or whatever just broke in. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, things are somehow getting worse. The guy who stole the car earlier limps in, bleeding from the head and looking for help. Instead of lending a hand, the mob collectively loses its shit, assuming he's Michael Myers. This poor guy bolts down a hallway, but the angry crowd, led by Tommy, chases him like it's Black Friday, and he's holding the last PS5. What none of them realize is that the real Michael is already busy playing Home Sweet Home at the John's house. Upstairs, Big John is clearing rooms like a low-budget SWAT team. He steps into Judith's old bedroom and thinks the coast is clear. Spoiler, it's not. Michael grabs him from behind and drives a kitchen knife into his armpit before literally popping his eyes out like he's testing a stress ball. Hearing the screams, Little John rushes upstairs, only to find his husband dead and Michael standing at the window, lost in thought like he's reminiscing about simpler times. Paralyzed with fear, Little John doesn't even get a chance to run before Michael turns and goes after him next. The escaped patient is sprinting through the hospital like he's in a low-budget action movie, with the mob hot on his heels, frothing at the mouth like they're chasing the last pack of beer on game night. Lori finally catches a glimpse of the guy and immediately realizes it's not Michael. She tries to yell some sense into the crowd, but they're too hopped up on bloodlust to listen. One guy in the mob is literally wielding a rake. Like, what the f*** was he planning to do with that? In all the chaos, Lori ends up hurting herself again, which is just fantastic because now they've got to haul her back to her room like a fallen quarterback. Meanwhile, Karen overhears that the not Michael patient is cornered upstairs, so she bolts up there to try and save his ass before the mob turns him into hamburger. Back in Lori's room, Hawkins is spilling his guts to her, guilt-tripping himself about how all of this is his fault. He confesses he once stopped Loomis from executing Michael because he thought maybe the guy had a sliver of humanity left. Spoiler, he didn't. Instead, Hawkins' decision basically signed a death warrant for half the town. Lori, being the badass she is, forgives him anyway, and vows that this time, there's no way she's letting Michael escape. Third time's the charm, right? Upstairs, Karen manages to find the patient before the mob does. She's all, "Hey, I'm not here to kill you. I promise." And miraculously, the guy believes her. She leads him to a hallway with a lockable door, trying to shield him from the horde of lunatics. But surprise, surprise, the mob has zero chill and breaks right through her human barricade. Realizing he's well and truly screwed, the poor guy panics. With the mob closing in, he grabs a fire extinguisher, smashes a window, and takes the express route out, an 80-foot drop straight to the pavement. Splat. The mob finally gets a good look at his lifeless body and collectively goes, "Oh shit, wrong guy." Yeah, no kidding. While everyone's reeling from that massive screw-up, we get a flashback to Hawkins' early days. Turns out he and another cop covered up the death of Hawkins' partner to make it look like an accident. Talk about a skeleton in the closet, or in this case, a body on the file. Back in the present, Hawkins has an epiphany. Michael doesn't give a flying fuck about Lori. The whole showdown between them? That was all Dr. Sartain's doing. What Michael really wants is to go home, kick back, and stare out his creepy childhood window like it's his personal Netflix. Speaking of Michael's house, Lonnie and his crew are piecing things together too. They notice that Michael's killing spree is forming a straight path back to his childhood crib. Genius-level detective work, guys. It only took you, what, 40 years? Back at the hospital, Karen and Tommy are hashing out their next move. Tommy apologizes for accidentally starting a murderous mob, like that's something you can just shrug off. And they agree to team up to stop Michael before he adds more bodies to his tally. Meanwhile, Allison and her crew have already pulled up outside Michael's old house, locked and loaded. But Lonnie, ever the hero, insists on going in alone. He tells the kids to stay put and call for help if anything weird happens, which is hilarious because everything about this situation is weird. Grabbing his weapon, Lonnie approaches the front door. It's unlocked, a giant red flag if there ever was one. But he gives the others a thumbs up like he's about to conquer a haunted house ride at an amusement park. He steps inside, blissfully unaware that he's walking straight into a one-man slasher sequel. Barely a minute passes before a gunshot echoes from inside the house. Allison and Cameron rush in like they're auditioning for Dumb and Dumber Horror Edition, only to find nothing. Cameron's dad is MIA, and the house is eerily quiet. Great, just great. They start combing through the first floor, and Allison discovers a creepy-ass jack-o'-lantern lurking in a closet. Because nothing screams welcome like hiding a pumpkin in your house of horrors, she mutters. Then they hear it, footsteps upstairs. So naturally, instead of leaving and calling for backup like sane people, they head up to investigate. That's where they stumble upon the two Johns lying dead in the office, looking like they got rejected from an NCIS crime scene. Down the hall, Cameron notices a closet door ajar. Suspenseful, right? But before he can open it, he feels something warm drip onto his hand. It's blood. He looks up and sees his dad's body stuffed into the attic like a goddamn piñata. Cue the oh shit moment. Suddenly, Michael bursts out of the closet like it's prom night and slams Cameron into the wall, stabbing him twice in the gut for good measure. Allison, to her credit, rushes in swinging. She even manages to land a few solid hits. But Michael just shrugs it off like she's tickling him. Then in peak, don't mess with me fashion, he tosses her down the stairs so hard she's lucky she didn't end up in the basement. While Allison lies there, probably rethinking all her life choices, Michael grabs Cameron, drags him over to the stairs, and proceeds to obliterate him. First, he smashes Cameron's head through the railing like he's playing Home Improvement Simulator, and then he spikes him onto the broken wood. Finally, to top it all off, he snaps Cameron's neck with his bare hands. Brutal? Hell yes. Necessary? Apparently to Michael, it is. Allison, injured but still defiant, tries to get up and face Michael. Spoiler alert, bad idea. He's already looming over her, knife in hand, ready to make her his next victim. Just when it looks like she's about to join the growing body count, Karen comes in swinging a pitchfork like she's auditioning for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Farm edition. She drives it into Michael's back and then makes him bite the damn stairs. Yes, she literally stomps his head into the steps. If this were a wrestling match, the crowd would be losing their shit right now. Karen, knowing this won't actually kill him, because duh, it's Michael Myers, pulls off his mask and taunts him with it. "Come and get it, asshole," she says, running off down the street. Michael, because he's nothing if not persistent, follows her like a homicidal tortoise. When he rounds the corner, he finds his mask lying in the middle of the road. But surprise, motherfucker, he's surrounded. Tommy and his angry mob are finally putting their pitchforks and guns to good use. For once, they manage to take Michael down, wailing on him with a mix of revolver shots and wooden sticks like they're in a redneck version of Mortal Kombat. Karen lands the final blow and believes they've killed him once and for all. Sweet summer child. Lori, watching from the hospital, drops a major truth bomb. Michael's not just some guy with a mask and a knife. No, this dude feeds on fear, and the more people fear him, the stronger he gets. It's like a terrible superpower, but instead of saving the world, he's turning it into a slasher flick. Sure enough, Michael pulls the ultimate psych move. He yanks the knife out of his back and proceeds to carve through the mob like he's auditioning for a cooking show called Chop Till You Drop. Poor Brackett gets his throat sliced. And Tommy? Oh, Tommy gets the VIP treatment. Michael stabs him in the chest and then beats his head in with his own baseball bat. Talk about adding insult to injury. Meanwhile, Karen is back at the house, finally getting some medical attention for Allison. But then she spots something weird, a vision of young Michael staring out of a bedroom window. Now, any sane person would just walk away and chalk it up to trauma. But Karen? Nope. She decides she needs to go upstairs to see what he was doing. Spoiler alert, bad move. Because as we've learned tonight, Michael always comes home. And just like that, the boogeyman claims another victim. Until next time, folks, Michael kills again, And there you have it, another night in Haddonfield that makes you wonder why anyone still lives there. Seriously, at this point, Zillow should be giving these houses away with a free shotgun and lifetime therapy sessions. Michael Myers is out here proving he's not just a boogeyman, he's a whole damn apocalypse wrapped in a jumpsuit. But what have we learned, folks? 1. If you hear creepy footsteps in the attic, don't investigate, just leave. 2. Mobs of angry townsfolk are about as effective as a slasher movie victim hiding behind a shower curtain. And 3. Michael Myers doesn't die. He's like bad Wi-Fi. He always comes back, no matter how much you try to shut him down. So what's next? Well, we know Michael's out there, sharpening his knives and practicing his creepy head tilt for the next round. And while Lori and the rest of Haddonfield gear up for another fight, one thing's for sure, Michael isn't done turning this quiet little town into his personal body count playground. Until then, lock your doors, check your closets, and maybe, just maybe, consider moving to a nice, quiet beach town where the scariest thing is overpriced ice cream. But hey, if you're staying in Haddonfield, good luck. You're gonna need it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more killer content. Stay safe out there. Unless you're in Haddonfield, then just run.